I hope you're as ready as I am for these 15 draft picks by the Minnesota Vikings. So let's break it down. Okay. First round, 22nd overall, the Minnesota Vikings drafted Justin Jefferson, wide receiver out of LSU. I gave this pick an A. To me, like, what better way to replace Diggs than going out and getting a guy like Jefferson? He's 6'1", 202, pretty similar. 4.4 running capability, speed, 1,500 yards last year, 18 touchdowns last year. He's just a complete wide receiver. He battles for contested catches. He knows how to use his speed while running routes, which is very key, especially when tracking the ball if it's thrown his way. He has really good hands overall, very reliable, and very interesting. Last year he did a lot of his damage from the slot, so Minnesota could play him in. They could play him out. He does have that ability to go to the outside and be that wideout that they may need. Overall, I would say he does have a little bit of an issue separating from his coverage sometimes, especially if it's a tight cover or very physical corner playing man on him. But I would say, given that he's already, polished in a lot of other areas, look for him to improve on his route running, and that's be able to perform at his highest level. So, good pick for Minnesota. I gave it an A. That takes us to their second first-round pick, which was the 31st overall pick, Jeff Gladney, cornerback out of TCU. I gave this another A. Minnesota shelled off a lot of their corners this offseason. So, way to bring in this guy. I think with Gladney, you're getting a guy that's going to come in and change the whole mindset of the defense. He plays hard, 100%. Really a guy that can get really fired up. He's very athletically talented, and he does whatever he can do to help his defense stop the offense and help his team win. He does play very tight coverage in man. He knows how to play a nice zone. He does like to come down and make the tackles. So look for him to maybe get a few sacks and help out in the run coverage. And he also recorded a lot of pass deflections at TCU. So overall, I think he's a solid corner. And I think is a good pick that's going to develop nicely in that Minnesota defense. Then they had a second round, 58th overall. They picked Ezra Cleveland, tackle out of Boise State. I gave this pick another A. That was their third straight A. To me, Cleveland, he really does have great athleticism, great technique, and especially for an offensive lineman. And another thing to point out is that Minnesota has a Boise running back, Alexander Madison. So it'll be interesting to see if they have any chemistry and if that'll have any benefit for those two. He does need to work on his play strength. I mean, overall, he's not... I think he got 30 reps at the bench, but it seems like on the field he doesn't play as strong. So, overall, a few things to work on physically. And I think, overall, interesting pick. Good pick. We'll see if the former friendship and former teammate has any benefit, but overall they got a guy that could really come in and be pretty solid for them at the tackle position. Then they had a third and 3 fourth-round picks. So let's start with the third round pick. They picked Cameron Dantzler, I don't know, cornerback out of Mississippi State. I gave this pick a B+. He does rely a little bit more on technique than his athleticism and his lesser athletic traits. He's a good cover corner, which is good, and overall he does need to work on his tackling to become a little bit more of a consistent tackler, and he struggles against the physical matchups due to his lack of beautifully athletic traits, which he is not gifted with. So it should be interesting to see, how he'll be able to size up against NFL competition, especially against those tougher matchups, which he's prone to getting caught with pass interference or holding. So we'll see how he can hold up against a little bit more aggressive and talented wide receivers, especially athletically and physically speaking, the more gifted ones. So we'll see how he holds up, but I think he could be pretty good back there. So I gave it a B+. All right, for the first of the 3 fourth-round picks, they picked DJ Wonnum, defensive end, South Carolina. I gave this pick a C. Here we go, defensive end. I don't know why you have Hunter and they have Danielle Hunter. Why I'm forgetting the other one. The point is they got 2 Pro Bowl / All-Pro type of Everson Griffin. That's the other one. Everson Griffin, Danielle Hunter, two of the better defensive linemen or defensive ends in the league, I should say. Really not a need, and potentially speaking, he doesn't really have it, so it's not even like those 2 will be able to help this guy develop. I think due to his athletic talent and physicalness being a little bit less, I think that's going to limit him, and I think the potential for him is more as a backup or rotation for them. And even then, I don't know how much playing time he'll see, which means that their second fourth-round pick was just as big of a mistake when they picked another defensive end out of Baylor, James Lynch. I gave this a C. He's another guy who got away with, things in college where NFL against the tougher, stronger linemen, he's not going to get away with. And so a lot of his moves, too, that help him dominate, they're not going to work as much, too. And I think if he doesn't really add some strength and add some weight, then he's also just going to be a rotational or backup. So, to me, neither one was a need, and I think those were 2 wasted picks by Minnesota. That takes us to their 4th round, 132nd pick, Troy Dye, outside linebacker to Oregon. I gave this pick a B- because I think you got to like Dye's his 4-year production at Oregon. Almost 400 tackles. He's sideline to sideline, which is pretty unique for outside linebacker, and he could really get into the backfield and wreak havoc. So very impressive for him. The problem with Dye is that he has had trouble keeping on weight, which has allowed for his more naturally slender body to show up more times often than not. He's rather slender and skinny, lower and upper body, which is not good. So I think that has led many to question his work ethic, and thus if he can't get that driving factor to compete, and he can't get his, in good shape enough so that he's not getting steamrolled by running backs, then that's not going to be good. But if he can fix those things, play hard, work hard in the offseason, get stronger, stay strong, then I think, he could be starting talent for that Minnesota team. So a lot of ups and downsides for that pick. Could be good, could be bad. We'll just have to wait and see. Round 5, 169th pick, Minnesota drafted Harrison Hand, cornerback out of Temple. I gave this pick a C-. He's just average talent, and he's got average skills. He played against average competition. It's just average across the board. He does have athletic traits one might like, and he could get away with being a backup 5 or 6 corner and potentially a special teams gunner. So we'll just have to see. He may or may not make the team. It's okay pick right there. Round 576 overall. This was their last 5th round pick. They picked KJ Osborne, wide receiver out of Miami. I gave this pick a D-. Here's another guy. Just average. Again, he's average on-field traits. Below average skills. You talk about his route running. They're horrible. And he really doesn't possess NFL talent. He was nothing special while he was at Miami, and the school before that he played at too. I would say the only thing that gives him a chance is his special teams abilities, but usually that's not enough unless you're a star on special teams to make a team. So I think with that was another wasted pick, which takes us to their first 6th round, 201st overall pick, Blake Brandell, tackle out of Oregon State. I gave this pick a D+. Because to me, he is more of a football player than he is athletic, but in this case, it's not enough. His plate strength and power is just too poor. He's going to get beat and destroyed by some of the better NFL players if he were to play. And due to that, he kind of lacks consistency, like I said, in pass protection. So it's going to hurt him down the line. And you wish somebody with his kind of techniques and footwork skills would have a little bit better athletic traits and a little bit stronger, but he just doesn't have what it takes. And his height he's so tall that, if you had to move him inside to do, move him down, which would fix some of his problems, then he's really almost worthless because his run blocking is no good, and it's more of his pass, which is why he played tackle at Oregon. But his lack of consistency would not make him a starting tackle. So there's really nowhere to put him, nowhere to go, and I don't like the pick at all, so that's why I gave it a D+. Their second and final 6th round pick was Josh Metellus, safety out of Michigan. I gave this pick a B-. There's a little bit of potential. To me, Metellus was a good tackling safety while he was at Michigan. He did help out on the run support a lot. And I think he was a big piece of that Michigan defense. If sometimes you could tell, I think there was one game where he got ejected for a hit that just happened on the fly. Not his fault at all. It was a ridiculous call. And we just got beat deep that whole game. So definitely a better year, though, in 2018 with the coverage. Last year, he was, there were guys open and in his zone, and there's nobody around him, and so it's what's happening? So he does have good athletic ability. His coverage abilities have been good. Last year they were down. His recognition and IQ have been good. I'm not sure how that got worse. Maybe he was distracted. We don't know what was going on last year. But overall, I think he's got a decent football playing capabilities. And, he has the possibility to develop into a nice piece for that defense back there at safety. So Minnesota then had four 7th round picks. Let's start with the first one, Kenny Wilkes, defensive end out of Michigan State. I gave this pick a B simply because I think he could be a great football player. He's a hard worker, and I think he's just a little bit less physically gifted. So, excuse me, when I said I think he could be a great football, I meant he was a great football player in college, and he's a hard worker. Now, can he be great in the NFL? I don't know. I think that the lack of physicality and the lack of athletic traits is going to hurt him in the NFL against the stronger guys. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have some potential to, kind of come in and out and help out. But you don't know what can happen with him. But he does, you got to like the effort and the already, well-developed skill set that he brings in day one. So not bad for 7th round. Takes us to their next pick in the 7th, Nate Stanley, quarterback out of Iowa. I gave this pick a B+. Because Stanley has great arm abilities. He could throw on the run, cannon. He could throw off balance, cannon. He has an arm. Consistency, not good. Discipline, not good. Throws it sometimes when he shouldn't, yes. Accuracy, and I don't know if it's the accuracy or just making poor decisions with the ball. Touchdown interception ratio too close. Completion percentage not where it needs to be. So I think if he could get down the consistency and the discipline with the ball, you never know. And they got a few years with Kirk. This could be a guy, because he's not going to come in right away and they're not going to ask him to start. So this could be a more traditional approach to the quarterback. Give him time. And if he could show that he's been and become more disciplined and more consistent with throwing that football responsibly, and he gets that shot, you never know. So I gotta like that pick, especially in the 7th round from Minnesota. Round 7th, again, 3rd pick in the 7th, they picked Brian Cole. The 2nd safety out of Mississippi State. This pick, not a fan. D-. To me, he's got a lot of trouble in pass coverage, which already eliminates him as being anything that you would want on your team. And I really think he gets turned around in coverage too much, which is a big problem. I would say the 1+ for him is that he is a good tackler, but that's not enough to overlook his poor coverage abilities. That takes us to their final pick in the draft, number 15, Kyle Hinton, guard out of Washburn. I don't know if I wrote that down wrong or it's just a college I haven't heard of. But to me, I gave this pick a C+ because Hinton, while he's not NFL ready, he is extremely athletically gifted. We're talking about strong, good agility, good athletic traits, especially for a lineman. So if he can work on that technique and footwork while he's not being asked to start, then, in my opinion, playing NFL offensive lineman today, sky's the limit because he already has that athletic frame, and really he could dominate if everything was right. So the problem is, can he get the techniques and the mechanical errors? Can he get that down and fix those? We just have to see. Overall, though, for Minnesota, I gave them a C+ because when you have 15 picks and you fail to get just a great supporting cast to add on to a team you already have, it's just a blown opportunity. I mean, they did good at the beginning, but then as they went, they were fooling around, drafting players with limited to no potential. They were drafting players they didn't need, and they did hit a few guys where that might pan out and be pretty good. They did get a few guys that might help them right away, but they had 15 picks, and to me, that's the bigger letdown. That just because you have 15 doesn't mean you could blow more than teams that have 7. When you have that many, you need to take advantage, and I think they failed to do that, and they really ended up being a disappointment with those 15 picks. So overall for me, it's going to be a C+, and that's it for them. And coming up next, we got Green Bay, and that'll close out the NFC North, leaving us 2 divisions of draft analysis left. So stay tuned for Green Bay's draft analysis. Thank you.